Hey guys, what's up? This is DRAGONSTAR again. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to actually abuse Khitans, absolutely bully your opponents on the ladder. Khitan right now is the most broken serve, and I think I've figured out the best way of playing them. Depending on which generation of Arabia you're going to get, it might differentiate a little bit, but the base structure of the build remains the same. We're gonna start off the game pretty much the same. We are going to open Scout Rush because we wanna use the two bonuses of the Khitans, which is faster producing scouts from the stable, and the +2 attack you get from researching forging. So I'm gonna be using both of those in order to basically get the best out of my civilization. A couple of tips and tricks that I'm going to be showing you are pretty universal. If you get a chicken map, my advice is you actually take them before you even go for the lumber camp. I got a chicken map, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. If it's a deer map, push all the deer and go for your classic scout rush build order. But since it's a chicken map, I'm going to be showing you a different variation of it. If you're afraid about getting lamed and stuff, you can take your boar early. But if that's not a big issue for you, you should delay it a little bit. So instead of going for the traditional 3 on wood right now or 2 on wood, I'm going to be sending 4 on chickens. Now time to go scout my opponent. Once I have 4 on chickens, gonna be luring my boar in. So that I have a total of 7 villages on the board. Ideally you wanna have 8, but we don't care that much about the efficiency of the board, since we're gonna have a little bit of excess food in the opening anyway. Once you build your house so that you don't get house, you put everything on straggler until you have the 100 wood required to make the lumber camp. Gonna be splitting it between the 2 stragglers. Get the second boar once the first one is around 150 food. I'm just gonna keep that balance of food to wood. And once you have the wood, put everything back to food. Send 3 villagers from the straggler to make a lumber camp on the wood line. And if you get a chicken map, there's a little bit of walking time. So what I would recommend is going up on 20 pop with loom instead of your traditional 19 loom. It's a little bit different in that regard. It's not going to change the build order by that much, but it does help in producing your early units. Once you're up, send 5 villages from your town center to the wood line. Make sure you have 4 on each side of the wood line so that it doesn't get oversaturated, and villages will start bumping into each other if you put them on the one side completely. At this stage, your chickens are almost done, and the basic reason you go for the chicken before the lumber camp is because if there's any man-at-arm rushes happening, your chicken will already be done at this stage of the game. Like, he's gonna be making militia at this stage, and by the time he reaches your base, your villagers will be done on the chicken. If it's a drush, instead, what you can do is eat as much chicken as possible and run away with the villagers. You don't really want to force a fight or stick around too long and end up losing a villager. And once you're almost ready to click up, you basically send everything back under the town center. this into the safety of your TC, and that should be pretty good. I'm gonna make some walls so that if you're against something like mana towns, you can be pretty safe against it. And the trick I'm going to be using in this build is not going to the berries once you're done with your chickens. If you had a map with deers, what you would do is make the mill on the berries and actually send the villager back to the sheep. The reason is because the berries are slower than pastures. So all you want to do is have as many villagers and pastures as quickly as possible, since the work rate of the pasture is faster than the berries. Again, I'm gonna be setting up my base in order to defend myself from the mana tombs. Most of the players will end up going for mana tombs, so there's a couple of ways to defend against it. If he adds too many spearmen, you have to make skirmishers. If he does not add too many spearmen, you can actually clean them without even adding a single skirmisher. So once your stable is up, make the scout, get the wood upgrade, get the farm upgrade for the pasture, and you have a lot of food bank, which allows you to sustain the food. You don't really need the berries for this exact reason. And pastures give you a lot of food very quickly. We're gonna be waiting for at least 5 pastures before we make the blacksmith. You can do it a little bit early if you don't want to make scouts the entire time. So 3 pastures is going to be good enough to actually add an archery range right now. So this is the amount you actually need. Make 3 pastures and then put everything on straggler or put them on woodline so that you can make an archery range. And then I would actually even add a second lumber camp. If you're not planning to do that, if you're continuing to make scouts, then the follow-up will look a little bit different, where you'll go for the forging first. So you have 2 options right now. Do you want forging or do you want skirmishers? Skirmishers are good against dealing with enemies' infantry. If he is not opening any infantry, I would not advise to go for skirmishers. So that's the difference in terms of the decision making you have to make based on what is happening in the game. I'm going to be showing you the follow-up where I am not playing against the Manatom opener. And basically send everything to woodline. So toast for a little bit. Should be fine though. But yeah, the biggest thing with playing Khitans is not actually taking the berries, because berry is strictly slower than collecting from the pastures. We are overloading our woodline a little bit, but that's completely fine. And now we have around 6 scouts, which allows us to research forging at the same time. And this is like a 13-minute forging click. You can do it a little bit earlier. Another variable you can have in this build order is going for forging even before this, or having more scouts, is if you skip the pasture upgrade. If you skip the first pasture upgrade, your economy kind of collapses in the mid castle age. So if you think you need more numbers, if you know you can do more damage, you can skip it. But I personally prefer to play it on a little bit on the safe side. And try not to make too big of a wall. You want to just basically protect your wood line. That's basically it. You can protect your gold by adding a tower, because the food income from pastures is so crazy, you don't really need your stone to click up to the next stage. I got housed for a little bit, but when you're playing one lumber camp, you won't wheelbarrow anywhere. So this works out for me. At the end of the transition, you basically want to have 8 on wood again. And what you can do is add a tower on your gold mine when you're expanding to it. Get armor if you're against archers. Otherwise, keep adding scouts the entire time. And this will basically let you get up to castle age pretty easily. Sometimes your villages go idle on the pasture, so you have to manually check if there's any idols in your economy. And the villages in gold is basically 6 to 7. You don't really need more than that. Now we just idle to click up. This setup for 8 pastures under your TC basically makes you unkillable. Like he can't really... I had a hole there, so that could have backfired. This doesn't really look like a hole, but I had one. This makes you unkillable since all your villages are under your town center. If you do not expand to the berries, he does not have places to hit if you make one tower in your gold. And now I can click up. This is a 16-minute up click with 8 scouts and forging. You can have more scouts and delay your uptime a little bit, but I recommend making this much amount of army to force reactions out of your opponent. And next step would definitely be just adding another stable, keeping your 8 pastures working the entire time, get armor on your way up to the next age, and the gold upgrade. Split your lumber camp if you have another safe wood line, because you basically want to have 10 on wood by the end of the Dark Age, but this makes the game pretty straightforward. You get 8 pastures, you research wheelbarrow so that your villages on the wood line are more efficient, and you collect the food a little bit quicker. So you end up having 6 on gold with 1 tower on the gold. If you take better fights, you don't even need this tower. You can add town centers instead. But it's just like the flexibility of doing this. Like this army without spearmen is toast in feudal age. And the way to engage this is by sending some of the scouts in front so that you get a lot of hits while they are retreating. If you have a lot of scouts alive, let's say you have 6 scouts alive with relatively high HP, get light cav and husbandry before making step lancers. But that's basically the next step, what you want to do in terms of unit composition. I'm floating a little bit of wood. So this wood you can use to add a siege workshop to make rocket carts to deal with opponents' archer units, because since you skip bloodlines, since you do not have bloodlines, archers are actually a good counter to you. And once you're up, get the second attack before the second armor, so that your damage output is higher. It honestly depends. If he has too many archer units, you can go for the +2 armor first. But since we're using all our bonuses, we're gonna go for the attack upgrade first. And the trick here is actually idling your town center now. If you wanna just apply a shit ton of pressure, just stop making villages and only make army. At this stage of the game, this is 20 minutes. With this army composition, you basically beat everything in the game. There is nothing your opponent can make which comfortably deals with what you're making against him. If he has a bunch of knights, which is very difficult to pull off against your army, the easiest solution to that is mixing in some camel riders. If he's playing cav archers, all you have to do is just keep making rocket carts. You can mix in a couple of scorpions. And if you start not having that much gold, you can definitely just keep adding scouts again. Just make sure your stable never goes idle. Make step lancers whenever you can afford them. Make scouts / light cav whenever you can't afford the step lancers. And don't be afraid of idling your town centers, because your economy is super efficient. You'll get the wood upgrade as well. Make a bunch of houses, since we're producing from like almost 4 production buildings constantly. It's just a bit of a balance thing. You don't really have to look that much more on your economy. You can just use this army composition to melt anything your opponent has. Like I can even stop making these last few units to get the second armor. And make a couple more light cav to make sure I can produce rocket carts the entire time. Rocket carts are very good at dealing with units compared to the mangonels, since the shots are a little bit more split. They are a little bit more squishy, but it's much harder to actually avoid the projectiles of rocket cart compared to a mangonels, since the arrows are a little bit more split. And with this build, you don't really even need the market as such. You can add it if you think your economy is going out of whack, but if you micromanage your economy just a little bit, like, you won't really even run into that issue. And yeah, like basically alternate between adding light cavalry and step lances. Whenever you want to make rocket carts, cut a little bit of step lances so that you save a little bit of gold. Your new villages can always just keep going to the gold mine. Keep like your 10 to 11 villages on woodline, and these 8 to 10 pastures should be more than enough to sustain your economy for a while. Like, you don't really even have to micromanage. Once your initial pastures have been set up, all you just want to do is focus on microing your army to kill your opponent. Just mass a lot of rocket carts with this unit composition and keep like killing your enemy. Once you get to this death ball, there is almost nothing right now in the game which kills it. Like, your opponent has to have really insane defense to survive against this stuff. And it's very easy to execute. Once you practice it in single player a couple of times, it becomes pretty easy to execute. Even at my level, like, it's just very difficult to stop a push when somebody executes this one perfectly. There's a couple of tricks of beating it, but they're like super timing dependent on how you not die to this. Most of the mistakes, what players have been doing, which I've been exploiting, is they actually expand to their berries and I hit their berries. That's the only reason I'm winning against Khitans on the ladder. If I won against Khitans on the ladder, is just because they have been expanding to their berries. If they do not do that, if they recognize that berries are actually slower than pastures, which after maybe if people watch this video and figure out, then it's going to be a problem even for me to deal with Khitans on the ladder. The only reason I'm winning is because I'm pressuring their berries. In the initial stage, you can of course add more spearmen and delay your uptime a little bit so that you have a little bit of safety. But if you do not need to do that, I would recommend just skipping that. And I mean, if you've killed players at this stage of the game, you can send villages to stone, start adding town centers, and expand normally and macro till late game. But the setup for feudal to castle age is what basically makes Khitan basically broken right now. So use the build, exploit it before it gets nerfed, enjoy your free wins. You'll probably gain a lot of elo. I'm not really using it. I have tested it in single player, but I'm not actively using the build right now. But if you guys want to do it, see how that works out for you and let me know how it goes for you guys.